What was it like draping Henry House in mourning?
Well, there's a little saying I like to start with, and it's, ring the bell softly, there's crepe on the door. And as you can see, Henry House has crepe on the door, and that's in recognition of the death of Thomas Henry. Crepe on the door would signal to the neighbors and any casual visitors that a death had occurred and the family was in mourning, and that if you weren't an immediate family member, please don't knock. Everyone in the home speaks darken the house for mourning. The funeral would take place in the parlor, as there were no funeral homes at the time. And we know for a fact that Thomas Henry's funeral did take place at his residence in Port Oshawa, his family home, on September 23rd, 1879, at 10 o'clock a.m. This is where family and friends would gather to mourn the loss of Thomas Henry. We have a small coffin with flowers. The flowers are there also as make sure that no scent is left from the body. This is prior to the process of embalming taking place. There are chairs set up. There's also cards, mourning cards that would be set out as well. The mirrors are draped with black cloth. Clocks are set to the time of death.
What do we know about the death of Thomas Henry? We know that he had been ill for some time, according to his memoirs. The disease had initially struck him in 1878, and he was bedridden for 2 months. It struck again, this time on September 14, 1879. He became very ill. For the next 6 days he suffered greatly. He passed away with his family by his side on September 20th, and according to his death certificate, it was due to bowel complications. His funeral was attended at his residence on Tuesday, September 23rd at 10 o'clock a.m. His remains were followed to their last resting place by 85 carriages, and there were 18 ministers that attended his funeral. Why should people visit Henry House in mourning? Coming to visit Henry House in mourning will allow our visitors an opportunity to experience how a family prepared for the funeral. Whereas today, the funeral is prepared for by people other than your family members. Back then, the family assisted with the preparations for the funeral. You can see how a family mourned in the late 1800s after the death of the head of the household, Thomas Henry. Be sure to join us from now until the end of October and to see Henry House draped in mourning after the death of Thomas Henry.